Welcome to the Supreme Grammar Podcast, where you can learn to write like a Supreme Court justice. With me, Jill Barton. In this episode, our AI hosts tackle writing numbers the modern way. Style matters here. It helps you stay precise, avoid mistakes, and keep your writing concise. Let's listen in.
Okay, let's do this. Today's deep dive is into, well, a topic that honestly gives a lot of legal writers headaches. Navigating numbers.
It seems simple, but the rules can feel tricky.
Exactly. We're going straight to the source for this chapter 24 of the Supreme Guide to Writing by Jill Barton. We'll just call it the guide.
And our mission here really is to give you a clear, modern approach, whether you're drafting your first brief or you've been doing this for years.
Right. Simplify things, make it more modern, concise, consistent.
Yeah, and the guide is great because it actually distills the style used by the Supreme Court justices themselves. So you're learning to write like the court writes.
Love that. Okay, so let's jump into the first big rule from the guide. This one's apparently unanimous among the justices.
Yeah.
It's about spelling out numbers.
Right. The core principle is this. Spell out numbers 0 through 9. 0, 1, 2, all the way up to 9.
Okay.
And, crucially, spell out any number if it starts a sentence. Doesn't matter how big it is.
Okay. So that's maybe different from older style guides.
Yeah.
I remember rules like spell out below 50 or even 100 sometimes.
Exactly. The justices seem to, well, cut through that complexity. Instead of worrying about, 42 versus 42 depending on the context, you got clearer lines.
Simpler is better here.
Definitely. The guide shows examples like all 5 courts, F-I-V-E, or 3 of the 5 courts, T-H-R-E-E-F-I-V-E. Simple, because they're 9 or below.
Got it. But that sentence start rule,
Yeah.
that's where it gets really interesting, you said, because size doesn't matter.
Precisely. If a number kicks off the sentence, you spell it out. Word form. The guide gives examples like 3 states have adopted, T-H-R-E-E, or same for bigger numbers, 13 states,
Right.
T-H-I-R-T-E-N, or even nearly 50 years ago, F-I-F-T-Y. Spelling it out just makes that first word text. It's less jarring for the reader visually, and this also applies to generics like tens of thousands or fractions, like over 3/4.
Okay, that makes sense. Spell out 0 to 9 or anything starting a sentence. So what about the flip side? Numbers 10 and higher.
That's the counterpart rule, also unanimous. Use numerals, the digits, for numbers 10 and above.
So 10, 11, 12, use the actual number.
Yes, exactly. This is where you embrace the digits. The guide has examples like less than 12 months long, the numeral 12, or 45 miles, numeral 45.
And using the numerals helps with scanning, I imagine, quick processing.
Exactly. Readers can grab those specific figures faster.
Does that apply across the board, like measurements, money, dates?
Absolutely. It's consistent. For
Yeah.
measurements, 0.04 ppm, an 8,000-foot-long wall, a 15-foot deep ditch, a 3-foot wide barrier. All numerals.
Okay. And money, time, dates.
Same deal. A $5 bill, numeral 5. Between $3 and $4 billion over a 9-year period, numerals 3, 4, 9. Since 1999, numeral 1999. January 23, 2019, just 15 days before. Numerals 23, 2019, 15.
Numerals provide that precision instantly there.
Right.
Okay, so spell out small numbers and sentence starts. Use numerals for 10 plus and specifics like measurements or dates. Pretty clear. What about percentages? That feels like a place people might get inconsistent.
They can be a little inconsistent, yeah. But the guide points out a strong majority rule among the justices. Use numerals followed by the percent symbol, the actual percent sign.
The symbol itself. So the clear preference is for things like 42% at 28% black, using the numerals 42, 28, and the percent sign.
Yes. Or sales of 3.2% beer, numeral 3.2% sign. That's the concise modern style most justices use. It's quick. Unambiguous.
Got it. All right, we've covered the main rules. Spell out low, numerals high, percent symbol. But I imagine there are situations where these rules might kind of bump into each other, maybe in one sentence.
And that brings us to the fourth point, which is a general rule about consistency.
Okay.
This is where it gets a little more nuanced. It requires some judgment, though. The guide actually says this problem is pretty rare.
Okay, so what's the scenario?
Sometimes, if you have a sentence with a mix of numbers, some below 10, some above spelling them all out, can actually make the sentence flow better. It avoids that jarring mix of words and numerals, even if some numbers are technically over 9.
Right, so you might spell out a 12 just to match 2 in the same sentence.
Exactly. The guide's classic example comes from Justice Kagan. Borden's reckless assault conviction carried a sentence of 2 to 12 years. But had he been convicted of purposeful or knowing assault, the sentencing range would have been 3 to 15 years.
I see. So even though 12, T-W-E-L-V-E, and 15, F-I-F-T-E-N, are over 9. They're spelled out there.
Right. It maintains that parallel structure with 2, T-W-O, and 3, T-H-R-E. It just reads smoother in that specific context.
Okay, I can see that. But the guide says this is rare. You don't want to overdo it.
Exactly. Use your judgment. Don't force it if it makes things awkward. The guide gives a contrasting example. 48 agencies. Just use the numeral 48.
Right, spelling out 48 would just be clunky there, no matter what other numbers are nearby.
Precisely. The goal is always clarity and readability. Don't sacrifice the flow just for this minor consistency point if it looks weird.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, what's the big takeaway for listeners trying to improve their legal writing with numbers?
It really boils down to this. Follow these simple rules from the guide. Spell out 0 to 9 and sentence starters. Use numerals for 10 plus, measurements, dates, money, and percentages with the percent sign. And then just apply that consistency principle judiciously with good judgment.
And doing that helps make your writing clearer, more concise.
And aligns it with the modern style used right at the Supreme Court. It brings an immediate level of polish and, well, consistency.
It feels like such a small detail, numbers. But getting it right really does make a difference. It makes your writing look and feel more professional.
It truly does. It's one of those small things that signals care and precision.
So something for you to think about. How might applying just this one focused rule about numbers significantly impact the overall clarity and professionalism of your next brief or memo? And maybe stepping back, what other seemingly small style choices, perhaps hidden in guides like this one, might have a similar, really outsized effect on your legal writing?
Numbers are one of the biggest trouble spots in legal writing. That's why getting the style right and staying consistent matters. Join us next time when we take on pronouns. And remember, you can be a great legal writer.